So it's been now over a year since the release of the Xbox One, or shall I say the Xbox 180, because if you think back to the reveal, there's definitely been a lot of 180s, and a lot of changes made from the original plans. It's seriously hard to keep count. You had the DRM, always online, Connect always bundled, all those things are gone. Don Matrick, thank goodness he's gone. I think it would be an understatement to say that the Xbox One stumbled out of the gate, kind of like Lindsay Lohan walking out of her house. And over the last few months, I've made several mentions about the Xbox where I flat out told you I didn't see any reason to recommend buying an Xbox. I couldn't recommend it to my friends. I did a video even saying, I think I called it, should you buy an Xbox? And I said no. There weren't enough games. There weren't enough features. There wasn't enough pros to overcome all the cons whenever you added it all up. So now that we are a year in, the question is, has anything changed? For starters, I would say that probably the biggest change, or not the biggest, but one of the biggest changes has come from Nadella being placed at the head of Microsoft and Phil Spencer being placed at the head of gaming. And I think those two, not only based on just their statements, but also their actions that we've been seeing, I think they've really shown that they're serious about gaming and the Xbox brand. So I think that has been a really positive change. But of course, that doesn't affect you necessarily whenever you're sitting there at your console. But in a way, it does, especially whenever you're looking down at the future of the console. But I think one of the major points of the console has been the evolution of the device itself. And one of the biggest complaints I had early on was, and this is something that I've repeated over and over, was that the Xbox One I felt was a step backwards in almost every way from the Xbox 360 whenever it was first released. I was complaining about the party chat. It was a wreck. You had missing basic features like DLNA support. It was released and kind of commercialized as this all-in-one device, but it seemed more like the all-but-one device because you needed so many other devices to be able to do what you used to could do on the Xbox 360. And so that was really disappointing, I felt. But in the last year, I can honestly say that Microsoft has kicked major ass on what they do best, and that's software. And there have literally been hundreds of new features added since the launch of the Xbox One within the first year. And whenever you look at the list, there's some pretty significant changes that have come out. And they've been rolling them out every single month. And I've really liked the way they've done it. I've also liked how they've went after the community to try to get their feedback in order to know what the community wants. So they've got a website up where people can, go and recommend features, and then other people can go and vote on those. And Microsoft's done a pretty good job as to going to the top of the list and making sure that those are added on into these updates, or that they're coming pretty soon. So I think that's been really good. I also like the way they've rolled out the beta preview program. That way you can test the patches in real-world environments before you roll them out, so that way everybody's not downloading and having a bunch of glitches and bugs and going on. And so if you want to take that chance, you can. So I really like how they have done their software for the Xbox One, and I don't see them changing that anytime soon. So I think that's going to continue to be a strong point. I've also seen a growing list of apps. There's new apps added constantly. HBO Go was just recently added, which has been a big one that was missing. So there's actually a ton of content, a ton of non-gaming content to keep you from turning your box off after you're done gaming. So I think that's also a plus, which of course brings me to my next point, which is the biggest feature that the Xbox does, and that is that it plays games. And I think Microsoft put together probably the best exclusive lineup aside from the Wii U this year, with Killer Instinct for fighting. You had Forza 5 and Horizon 2 for racing, Sunset Overdrive, Dead Rising 3, and Rise for action games. And then you had Titanfall and the Halo Master Chief Collection for shooters. And I still think, even though Halo had a rocky start coming out, that last patch they just posted up has definitely made a lot of improvements. I think once they get all the bugs and kinks worked out, it's still going to be one of the best packages and values you can get on any system, period. I mean, you're getting 4 games and over 100 maps, especially when you look at Forge mode, which basically means you have unlimited maps because people can build more. So I do think that they do have a pretty strong lineup this year. It could be a lot better, but you know, for the first year, you usually don't expect too much coming out of the consoles. But I think one of the most exciting things about the Xbox One isn't necessarily the past year, but actually looking forward to the future, which these are a lot of things that we've talked about for a long time on this channel. I think 2015 could actually be a pretty big year for the Xbox and for Microsoft in general. You've got Windows 10 coming. That's, of course, going to be big for the PC, but it's also going to bring a lot of features to the Xbox. There's talk that there may be a new Xbox dashboard announced in January. They're having a big reveal there, so we'll find out more about that soon. Windows 10 bringing universal apps, which means you're going to have more apps on your console, more things to snap, more things to do and watch. It also is going to bring Cortana, which is going to add a lot more voice functionality to your box. Phil Spencer has done interviews in the past where he talked about, you know, for the long-term plan, they think it makes sense for your Xbox to be kind of like your personal assistant and to be able to wake up and ask your Xbox, you know, what's the traffic going to be like this morning on my way to work, and it be able to tell you kind of what's going to happen. And then, of course, you've got DirectX 12, which is also going to be coming with this. And it is going to have a huge impact on the PC, but it's definitely going to have an impact on the Xbox One as well if you listen to every developer that's actually working with DirectX 12. And you look at Unreal Engine 4, which is going to be a huge engine for games going forward. It's going to work hand in hand with DirectX 12, so I think that could bring some good things. And then if you look at the games lineup, you've got Quantum Break and Fable and Halo Guardians, Scalebound, Crackdown, talk of a Gears of War collection. You know, Phil Spencer has been doing a lot of interviews, especially recently, talking about all the exclusives that they are going after, and he says there's going to be a lot more announced. They're actually looking at, he says they're not joking, he said they're actually looking at pushing some back to the next following year because they have so many exclusives getting ready to launch, and he says that's going to be a very important part in the long-term goal and plan for the Xbox brand going forward, and he's going to go after exclusives pretty hard. You know, a few weeks ago, I did a video talking about the Xbox Super Secret in 2015. So everywhere you look, whether it's you're watching Phil Spencer and the things that he's saying, or Greenberg, or just Microsoft in general, they're really pointing to 2015 being a big year for Microsoft and Xbox in general. So, I mean, they could, of course, could be totally blowing smoke up your butt. It could just be all a PR move. But of course, if we roll around and we're at this point next year and we're talking about what a big letdown 2015 was, that's going to be really bad for their long-term game plans. So I don't think they would come out and say all this if they didn't have some things in the works. But we're definitely going to hold their feet to the fire. I would say that Microsoft definitely stumbled out of the gate whenever it came with the Xbox One. But stumbling isn't falling. And Microsoft has definitely stepped up their game in almost every sense of the term in the last few months. And they look to be taking that momentum into the future. So for a console that I've told you many times before that I couldn't recommend a purchase, you know, looking at everything that's transpired over the last few months and looking ahead to the future as to everything that they have planned coming down the pipe, honestly, now doesn't seem like too bad of a time to jump into the Xbox One, and it's finally a console that I would recommend to my friends. So I'm pretty happy with my purchase. Post below, let me know if you own one. Are you happy with it? What do you think about the last year, and what do you think about the future going forward? That does it for me, The Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.